Shalom, Shalom. The book of 2nd Maccabees, 15th chapter, 10th verse. When his men were ready for battle, he gave them their orders and at the same time pointed out how the Gentiles could not be trusted because they never kept their treaties. All praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakar Double honors to the apostles, elders, and teachers of Great Millstone for teaching me this 100% truth about our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai Mashiach, and the true reason why he's coming back, which is to save the elect remnant of the house of Israel from their enemies and those that hate them, and to take over the earth and universe, which was given to him by the mighty, mighty Yahweh himself, the Ancient of Days, wherein our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai Mashiach, will establish righteousness throughout the whole earth and universe, forever under the kingdom of the heaven of the Israelites. Shalom, Akim and Akwaf. We one day closer to the kingdom. It's your brother Hadab Yarbad, back with more shameful spewing on the glory of Esau Edom, who is a so-called modern-day white man, with that head tribe being Amalek, who's the so-called fraudulent ones that are over in our homeland at this present moment, oppressing a whole different nation of people. The Ishmaelites mixed with a little Edomites, the Palestinians. Let me read this again because they agreed to a second ceasefire deal. First one was in January. They violated that one in March. The second one was in October the 10th. They didn't already violated it, but it's what? Shalaki. What's the date? Today is the 8th of November. They done killed over 240 Palestinians since October the 10th. Nobody talking about it. Why? Because as usual, through their witchcraft, their media, their influences, what they call them now, the propaganda, y'all ain't paying attention to it. But the elect are, right? Because we know that when the children of the Lord go back to the homeland, let's just get it right quick. Let's go to Isaiah 2. We'll just use Isaiah 2. Isaiah 2 and 4. When the Lord places us back in the homeland, as it is written in the scriptures, under the rule of Yahweh Shai Mashiach, through the house of David, King David being our king forever. He's not over there now. And this was going to happen, right? Look at the top. You can read Isaiah 2 for yourself. God's universal reign, right? When you jump down to 4, this is after we get the kingdom, after the Most High power returns the house of Israel back to the homeland. This is what's going to happen. Isaiah 2 and 4. And he shall judge among the nations and shall rebuke many people. Who? Yahweh Shai Mashiach. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. That's not happening. Ever since they got over into that homeland officially in 1948, they've been occupying and oppressing the Palestinians, also causing wars with their neighbors. Isaiah 2 and 4, and he shall judge among the nations. Who is that? It ain't the people that's over there now. Right? The house of Mashiach. And under him will be King David. And under him, the 144,000, the judges that's going to be on the earth. It's all in the scriptures. Read the book of Revelations. And he shall judge among the nations and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. You continue into, right? Yeah, let's go back, because I got a news clip from Kim Iverson. So you can look at the devastation that these Edomites have caused in our homeland. And you wonder why the Lord he has Amalek as the head tribe. He gonna destroy their ass. completely, right? Second Maccabees 15-10. This Judah speaking. When his men were ready for battle, he gave them their orders, and at the same time pointed out how the Gentiles could not be trusted because they never kept their treaties. Not only did they break their treaties with us in antiquity, meaning when we was over in our homeland during the Greek captivity, the Roman captivity, and when they came over and took over the Americas through the British, French, and Spanish, right? Especially the British and how they treated the natives, the so-called Native Americans, right? Which is part of the 10 tribes. Now, let's get a couple more scripts, and then we're going to play this clip because, hey, and also she's going to mention that they violated the ceasefire treaty they had with Hezbollah. So, and that was last November, right? So it's been 1 year that they supposed to have a so-called ceasefire with Lebanon. But guess what? The Greater Israel Project is in still full effect. That's why in Obadiah, right? You can read the whole number 1 chapter. Read it for yourself. I'm just going to get a couple verses out of verse 2. Behold, Obadiah 1 and 2. Behold, I've made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. The pride in thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the cliffs of the rock. These Israelis, the 48 fakers, are not in trouble as other men. Psalm 73, read that. Read that whole chapter. Right? They do things and are never held accountable. But the Lord is only letting them store up and pile up their iniquities, so he gonna show he will be justified when he judged them righteously and removed them from out of the power seat. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the cliffs of the rock, whose habitation is high, who saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Ain't it funny how the 48 fakers could do all these things, these wicked things on earth, and still hide behind that banner of, oh, they the Ish people, you can't do none of them, but they can do something to everybody else without no kind of recompense. Don't worry about it. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? The men of the Lord bring it out each day when they do something wrong. Whistleblowers of their own nation. Their house is divided. They got the same little playbook. That's how. Read that. Because as they have done, it shall be done unto them. Let's go to Habakkuk 2. Right? Shalaki. Habakkuk 2 and 12. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood and establisheth a city by iniquity. They covered fields. So they got the Greater Israel Project going on. So they trying to expand. But guess what? Your people, your nation of people are so soft. After y'all clear out all this land, who you think gonna populate it? Because your numbers are down. That's another thing to let you know they don't fit the description. Because the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea. Now they saying that them 48 fakers, they the smallest nation-wise amongst their own house, the house of Esau Edom. So what you clearing all this land out for? Creating all this destruction. Don't worry about it. The Lord gonna take you up out of here. Let's get this. Gonna get 2 more. We're gonna play this. Let's go to Numbers 24, right? Because these boys don't think, like I read in Obadiah, that nobody gonna take them out. Numbers 24. We start at 18. This for the whole house of Esau Edom. The point gonna be in 20. But this coming for you, so-called modern day white man. In Edom, Numbers 24 and 18. And Edom shall be a possession. Who gonna possess it? The children of Israel. Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies. And Israel shall do valiantly. Right? So when we get to the homeland, it ain't gonna be no more war. Because the Lord gonna take them out. Right? And then we're going to be given special power just like your house Hamashiach to where you can't even go to war with us no more. We're going to already know what y'all thinking. Verse 20, and when he looked upon Amalek, that's BB and his people, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. So just be patient. All these people that they are slaughtering in Palestine, the women, the children, the men, and also in Lebanon, it's going to come back on your head. As you have done, it shall be done unto thee. Esau. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that may otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips to balance in favor of fair use. Let's get a couple more. Right? Let's go to the book of Job. Go 15. Because these boys some liars. Right? They got sleight of hand. Ain't nobody even talking about what's going on over there since they did the little ceasefire deal, which is on October the 10th. They done threw all other kind of shit in y'all face for y'all to be distracted by. Now y'all ain't even worried about it. Meanwhile, they continue to violate the little deals that they come up with, the treaties that they come up with. Job 15 and 34. For the congregation of hypocrites shall be desolate, and fire shall consume the tabernacles of bribery. They conceive mischief and bring forth vanity, and their belly prepareth deceit. They been lying to y'all. And they done paid off the American government, America's leaders. And guess who the head one is? DJ. They got them in their pockets. The one donor gave them over $200 million. They bailed him out from several bankruptcies. Right? He jumped for money. He like bribes. Let's get that in the NLT. That's why they're not saying nothing. Remember, he said, the war is over. Liars. Remember, he also said there will not be an expansion in the West Bank. We shall see. Because they already came up with a law giving them permission to expand. And what J.D. Vance say, that was symbolic. Yeah, they just throwing y'all off. And now ain't nobody even worried about it. You best believe something over here going to happen for a false flag attack. So y'all can get y'all mind off what them 48 fakers been doing. And you can tell they have divided. Because look, the new mayor of New York, he's a Muslim. And they saying over 30%, might be more than that. I think it might have been 70% of the young 48 fakers that live in New York voted for him. Their house is truly divided. They influence the little witchcraft they got. That shit ain't working no more. You can't, the little propaganda y'all use and they had the media promote y'all narrative. Everybody else finding out now. Job 15 and 34, for the godless are barren. Their homes enriched through bribery will burn. They conceive trouble and give birth to evil. Their womb produces deceit. Now let's jump over to 20. And we're going to play this. Lest you forget Esau, the most high power rules in the kingdom of men. So lucky. Job 20 and 5. The triumphant of the wicked, which is Esau, Edom, and in this case, they head tribe, Amalek. Don't believe Bibi when he tell y'all that the Palestinians are Amalek. No, no, no. You are Amalek. You liar. Psalms 58 and 3. Right? That the triumphant of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. Hypocrite, actor, liar. Watch Kim Iverson. She's finna call them some hypocrites. And guess what else she call them? I'm gonna let her do it. Because, they'll strike us for this shit. Guess what it is right here? We one day closer to the kingdom. Now let's check this out.
So Israel's so-called ceasefire is a joke. They're still bombing Lebanon, still killing civilians.
It's a joke. So lucky. When nations have peace and safety, there's sudden destruction. Let's get this right quick, though. They came out on TV, held a press conference in Egypt. He done met with all the other nations. We done signed a ceasefire deal, right? Psalm 55 and 20. He put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him, right? He have broken his covenant. Once again, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Soon as y'all turn y'all back, we right back on their ass, what them Israelis said, huh? And now that they came out with that scandal, they didn't grape some people. Yeah. And they what? Defended them. And didn't nobody say nothing.
Halting aid trucks, and the media is barely saying a word. Even the BBC, on a very tightly controlled visit with the IDF, showed us what's left of Gaza, which is total and complete destruction. This isn't peace. It is complete and utter propaganda. Israel has not stopped their campaign. But first, before we get into the campaign about what they're doing in Gaza and what they're doing in Lebanon, let me just show you this BBC. BBC did this piece showing inside of Gaza. BBC sees total devastation after 2 years of war. From an embankment overlooking Gaza City, there's no hiding what this war has done. The Gaza of maps and memories is gone, replaced by a monochrome landscape of rubble stretching flat still for 180 degrees. So,
and you wonder why the scriptures say, destroy them to destroy the earth. Once they got them live hostages back, war was back on.
Watch what happened was BBC was allowed to go to Gaza, but with the IDF was extremely tightly controlled. They were offered no access to Palestinians, no other areas of Gaza. And the claim was that the military censorship laws in Israel meant that the military personnel were shown the material. So BBC had to hand over what they were going to actually air based on the military censorship laws in Israel before they aired it. But nonetheless, you can't hide the destruction that Israel caused.
Big news. Kraken just brought in a new customer support hire. Turns out all he supports.
This.
Looking across at the remains of Shujaya, you get a sense of what this war has done to Gaza. We've been...
This coming to America too, Babylon the Great. Look how they flattened that land. Look at it. But yet, we worried about who opened up the next club, who finna have another event where they giving out free food. They got y'all worried about the government being shut down and the SNAP benefits being cut. Meanwhile, they continue to covet fields. And what? Let's get it. Woe to them, Habakkuk 2 and 12. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood and establisheth a city by iniquity. Micah 2, woe to the oppressors, right? They've been oppressing them folks. Like when I'm thinking of Shilaki Israel. I'm trying to think, what is it? Something just came to me. I can't remember. It might come back to me.
Brought here east of Gaza City by the Israeli army to the Israeli-controlled side of the Yellow Line, the boundary that divides Gaza now between the areas controlled by Hamas and the areas controlled by Israeli forces. It lies just a short distance away from us across here. This tense limbo is the first achievement in Donald Trump's peace plan, and the Americans are pushing really hard to move on to the second stage to keep this moving. But a lot of the details still have to be hammered out, and there are daily reminders of how fragile this situation is. Every crack in this ceasefire threatens to bring the whole deal crashing down.
I mean, look at that.
Meanwhile, the only ones violating the ceasefire deal is who? The Israelis. It's amazing, but it's not amazing. How the Lord has built them up to be the supervillain on earth, and yet they get treated like they righteous. But all eyes gonna see the Lord destroy them Amalekites.
Destruction. Look at how awful. There was not a single building in sight. And that is what Israel has done to Gaza.
Now remember Gaza had 2.5 million people there. High rises, buildings everywhere. A whole coastline.
When the BBC asked them about this, like, look at this. This is terrible. The Israelis said, well, it wasn't a goal. And they said, look, the whole place is leveled. And the Israelis said, it wasn't a goal. They said, the goal is to combat terrorists. And then they said, but almost every house had a tunnel shaft or was booby-trapped or had an RPG, which is a rocket-propelled grenade, or a sniper station, saying every house in Gaza. This is why they leveled every house. So the reporters are like, every house has been leveled. And they say, well, every house had a tunnel or a booby trap or an RPG or a sniper station, which is not true.
Lies.
They tried to show us, if you remember the beginning of the war, the Israelis tried to show us a house, and they did their, computer generated imagery that they're always showing us. They never show us actual evidence. They always do these like computer generated images. And they were doing that computer generated image of missiles on like the second floor of a house. It was like
fair use is in full effect. For non-educational purposes only, the Kim Iverson show.
Look, they just fire them off from the second floor of this house. Like, for one, how did they get the missiles into the house and put on the second floor? And where would the missiles shoot out from on the second floor? Like, how is this even possible? But you know what? They figured you wouldn't ask questions. They're just like, you know what? Don't mind your pretty little head. Just believe us. There were missiles in the kitchen of that house. And that's what they tried to make us believe. And this is what they ended up doing to Gaza. And they said it wasn't our fault because every house had a tunnel or a booby trap or a rocket in the kitchen. It's really awful what they've done. And not only that, they claim to have moved to the yellow line. But reports are saying, no, they're where the agreed upon yellow line is in the ceasefire agreement, they're actually well further beyond that yellow line into Gaza where they shouldn't be. Let's move on to them not giving aid. This says our partners report that since the ceasefire, the Israeli authorities have rejected 107 requests for the entry of relief materials, including blankets, winter clothes, and tools and materials to maintain and operate water, sanitation, and hygiene services, a spokesperson said during a news conference. Almost 90% of these rejected requests were from over 330 local and international NGOs, of which more than half of the requests were denied on the grounds that the organizations were not authorized to bring relief items into Gaza. And at this point, Israel is allowing in about 30% of the aid trucks, maybe even less than that, of what they're supposed to be allowing in, according to the ceasefire agreement. So they're not even adhering to the ceasefire agreement. And they're also limiting what supplies can come in. So they're not allowing Gazans to rebuild. They're not even really allowing them to survive through the winter. I mean, here we are at the beginning of November, and they're not letting them have blankets. They're not letting in the majority of the aid that they're supposed to be letting in. And they call this a ceasefire agreement? Not to mention, the reports are that every day Israel is firing at civilians on what they call the so-called yellow line. But they've moved the yellow line. They keep moving the yellow line. And then they say, you've crossed the yellow line, and they're firing at civilians. At this point, they've killed over 240 civilians, Palestinian civilians, since the ceasefire agreement, since the quasi-supposed, ridiculous, not true ceasefire agreement. They've killed 240 people. They're not allowing the aid in that they're supposed to. They're way beyond the yellow line of where they're supposed to be.
Truth breakers. And
it's not just the Palestinians. You might say, well, but the Palestinians, I mean, they're Hamas and they're terrorists and every last one of them. And, they're all just propagandized from birth and they're all just a bunch of dangerous people. Look at this. Today, Israel has gone and demolished villages in southern Lebanon and bombed places. It says Israel's war with the militant group Hezbollah officially ended with a ceasefire last November, so a year ago. But Israel has continued since then to demolish hundreds of homes and critical civilian infrastructure in what residents see as an effort to not just prevent their return, but erase their history. So they're going after Lebanon. They had a ceasefire agreement in place, supposedly, with Lebanon for the last year. But what is Israel doing? Take a look at this from NBC News. Israel jets struck 3 towns in southern Lebanon on Thursday, so today, urging residents to leave, marking an escalation in their near daily strikes on the country. What kind of a ceasefire is it when you still get to strike the country every single day? What kind of a ceasefire is that? Was that written into...
Their blessing is the sword. They're allowed to do those things, not the other nations. Only the Edomites. And out of them, Amalek.
Ceasefire? You know what? It's a ceasefire on our end, but you can still hit us every single day. Says the airstrikes came hours after Hezbollah urged the Lebanese government not to enter negotiations with Israel. Right? Why would you negotiate with them? They've already shown you that they can't hold up their end of the bargain. You're in a ceasefire agreement. They violated it every single day. Why would you continue negotiating with terrorists? Don't we have a policy in this country not to negotiate with terrorists? You know, like if a terrorist hijacks a plane or something. I mean, what is the policy on that? Do we negotiate with terrorists? And yet, why would your government not to enter negotiation? Was that written into the ceasefire?
They bombed churches also in Lebanon. They bombed the oldest church in Lebanon. It might be a mosque, but it's the oldest one in Lebanon. Right? What are they doing? Destroying evidence. Because there's truth in them churches about who the children of Israel are. Right? They done bomb a Catholic church in the Gaza Strip. They done bomb Christian villages in the West Bank. And what do DJ say? DJ say he gonna go over there and bomb Nigeria for killing Christians. So that mean you finna bomb them Israelis too, DJ? Yeah, let's get that. Double standards. They hypocrites, y'all. Let's go to Deuteronomy 33. Deuteronomy 33 and 29. It's for the elect. Happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto thee, O people saved by Yahweh, the shield of thy help, and who is the sword of thy excellency. And thine enemies, the number one main one being them Edomites, and out of that, the Amalekites. And thine enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and they shall tread, and thou shalt tread upon their high places. Some liars. DJ, we got to go over there and help the people of Nigeria. They've been slaughtering Christians. Them Israelis been doing it too. What's he going to do to them? I'm just going to keep taking their money. And we're going to have some real estate developments with them. Yeah, I understand.
Ceasefire? You know what? It's a ceasefire on our end, but you can still hit us every single day. Says the airstrikes came hours after Hezbollah urged the Lebanese government not to enter negotiations with Israel. Right? Why would you negotiate with them? They've already shown you that they can't hold up their end of the bargain. You're in a ceasefire agreement. They violated it every single day. Why would you continue negotiating with terrorists? Don't we have a policy in this country not to negotiate with terrorists? You know, like if a terrorist hijacks a plane or something. I mean, what is the policy on that? Do we negotiate with terrorists? And yet they're supposed to negotiate with these terrorists that, even though they have a supposed agreement, a ceasefire agreement, they're still striking them every single day, still destroying homes, destroying villages. Look at the footage of them destroying and bombing Lebanon. Just today, this is what they're doing.
It was just past
$5 a day invested for 1 year, and you could have $1,900. $5 a day.
How is this a ceasefire? And this is why when they struck the supposed ceasefire with the Palestinians, many of the pro-Palestine camp did not celebrate. Why would you celebrate? They don't honor their ceasefire agreements. They strike every single day. And they've continued to strike every single day at the Palestinians, even though they have a supposed ceasefire agreement. So, they're just, I don't know what I guess we could change the definition of ceasefire, just like we had to change the definition of vaccines. What is a vaccine? A vaccine is supposed to prevent you from getting the illness. Well, no. Actually, now we've changed the definition of it. It's actually, I know that's what you grew up thinking it was, but now we're actually just changing it to, it's something that's going to help lessen the symptoms. It's just basically like a prophylactic. Okay, that's a prophylactic. No, this is a vaccine. Oh, okay. What's a ceasefire? I thought it meant cease fire, like literally. I thought the words spoke for themselves. But instead, apparently, it's still fire.
Yeah, with a blowing up. How's
I know
this?
cease and
Is
still
this
might
not
sound
hurting
the
the
same to you
environment,
if you're
Esau?
speaking a foreign language, maybe.
With
But
your climate
is
change
that so? No. Oh, I thought you said still
propaganda?
fire. Still fire. We could still fire, right? I thought that's what you said. So they're still violating their ceasefire agreement. The worst part about this is the media is not really covering it all. We're not seeing anything about this. We're all just meant to believe that everything's all hunky dory in the Middle East and there's no violations going on and the war is ended. And that way everybody could just shut up about it. Don't worry. Babies aren't being killed anymore. They're not being buried under the rubble. They have nowhere to go. Their houses have been completely demolished. And Israel won't allow blankets in during the winter. So maybe they won't be bombed to death, but they'll just freeze to death. And then, that'll still be taking care of the problem. So the media needs.
You're going to freeze them to death. You already created famine in a community, right? You fucked up all the infrastructure. So it's pestilence throughout the land of Gaza too, as well as famine. Nothing but death and destruction wherever Esau go.
Stay on this. We need to continue being aggressive about keeping our eye on what Israel's doing, more importantly, what our taxpayer dollars are doing. The fact that we're supporting this, the fact that we are forced to pay for this. So always the Republicans complaining about, oh, we don't want to be forced to pay for your abortions, like in the medical care or something like that, right? It's like, oh, it can't be the insurance. We don't want to pay for your birth control. We don't want to
Yeah, this report's coming out that since the 70s, I think it might have been the 70s. No, it might have been a little early. The U.S. government has provided the unrecognized state of Israel with over $1.6 trillion in aid. Let that sink in. We one day close to the kingdom. Shalom.